What's happening YouTube? Champion 2D Rob back again. How's everybody doing? Yeah, it's been a while since my last video, I know that, I know. I kind of decided to take a little break from YouTube, just to kind of do other stuff, just other things in life. Thought I would take the summer off really, just to focus on other things. And yeah, so I'm back. This is a pickups video. This is basically sort of going to be a two-parter. This part is going to be movies and sort of comics and stuff like that, sort of geeky stuff. And part two will of course be games related. So without further ado, I think I'm just going to jump straight into it because I've got a lot to cover in this video. So these last few months since my last video, I've sort of been picking up a lot of movies and just bits and pieces here and there, stuff that I just wanted to get, and been great, some good stuff here. But before I get into the films themselves, I want to start with a couple of trade paperbacks that I picked up recently. And the first one I picked up, and for those of you that might recall one of my earlier pickup vids, where I picked up the Aliens vs Predator trade. This is basically sort of a follow-up from that, and what I picked up was the Predator Omnibus. Now this, also like the Aliens vs Predator book, is also collected works from a comic series of the early 90s. Now back then, the sort of Aliens comics, there was Predator comics, and of course Aliens vs Predator comics, they were really popular at the time. And this basically collects a big chunk of the Predator specific comic books that I've always wanted to read. As you guys know, I'm a big fan of the Predator, and I did read a few Predator comics back in the day. So I thought this was a great opportunity to pick up something that collected a few of the stories that I remember reading as a kid. There are other volumes. This is volume 1. There are other volumes, but this one predominantly has the ones that I recall reading, and there's a few other stories in here as well. I don't know if I'm going to go pick up all the other volumes, but this is definitely one I've been looking forward to reading. So yeah, I'm really chuffed to pick this up. And the next one I got here, this is one that I knew nothing about actually. I just sort of stumbled upon this as I was sort of searching through stuff on Amazon, and the moment I saw it, I knew I had to have it. And basically, this is based around the Aliens franchise, and what I got was the 30th anniversary Aliens, the original comic series. Now, rather than just sort of explain to you guys what this actually is, I'm just going to read the back, and it will just give you a great idea of what it is. And basically what it is that in 1986, James Cameron's Aliens brought to theatres the horror of a new kind of war against a terrifying enemy. 2 years later, Dark Horse Comics released a direct follow-up to the events in the film, years before any talk of another film sequel. The comic series took the fandom by storm, selling hundreds of thousands of copies. Though the story was subsequently rendered non-canonical by the film Alien 3, the stunningly detailed artwork by Mark A. Nelson and the seminal script by Mark Verheiden, who went on to write The Mask, Time Cop, Battlestar Galactica, Daredevil, and many other films and television shows, continued to grip readers' imaginations for years afterward. For the 30th anniversary of Aliens, Dark Horse presents this edition of the unabridged and unadulterated series in its original stark black and white. Also included in this collection is the 1996 short story Aliens Lucky, an introduction by Mark Verheiden, an afterword by Mark A. Nelson, and an anniversary pin-up gallery. So basically this was a follow-up to James Cameron's Aliens, which sort of continued the adventures of Hicks and Newt. And for a time, this was actually considered canon until Alien 3 came out. So this is definitely a nice little curiosity. I never knew this comic series existed. It's actually in Just give you some idea of what it's like. It's in black and white. But yeah, this is an interesting piece I found. Of course, Aliens celebrated 30 years this year. So I think this was a great opportunity to reissue this, and I'm glad to have this in the collection. So yeah, really chuffed with that. Okay, so moving on to movies. I think the first few I'll start with here. Now, these last few months, I have been on a bit of a horror movie kick. Now, I'm not necessarily the biggest fan of horror movies, but I do enjoy them. I do like watching them. I'm not fanatical over them, but I tend to find the ones I watch, sort of my favourite ones, tend to be the ones that I grew up with. As a kid, I was exposed to quite a few horror films. I guess I was one of those kids that just enjoyed being scared. So I do have a fond nostalgia for a lot of horror films of the 1980s and the 1990s. And there was one film that I remember seeing back in the day, and it's one of those movies I've been meaning to pick up, but just never got around to it. But I saw it in CEX, so I thought, why not? I'll definitely pick it up. And the movie I got is The People Under the Stairs. Now, this movie, watching it again recently, until now, it actually never occurred to me. But this is actually quite a different movie. Now, this was a film that was directed by Wes Craven, the guy famous for the Freddy Krueger, Nightmare on Elm Street, and the Scream series. And he directed this hidden gem back in the early 90s. And what this film is basically about, it's focused around this kid who lives in the ghetto, and he finds out that he's basically like they're gonna get kicked out, and he finds out that the landlords of the building that he lives in, they're just basically they're really rich, and so he gets coerced by his sister's boyfriend to break into the house to steal some gold coins, which they're rumored to have. And of course, when they go to the house, they discover that the landlords are a bunch of sick, twisted individuals. And basically, the most of the film centers around the kid trying to escape the house. And it's a really cool film. And what I found interesting watching it this last time was that it kind of has that kind of 1980s Goonies vibe to it. It is kind of like a kids film. The only thing that prevents it from being a full-on kids film is that it has quite a lot of strong language, and it's quite gory. But if you were to take those elements away, it would very much be sort of like in the vein of Goonies and those sorts of movies. So it's quite an interesting take. You could say this is basically Wes Craven's take on a Goonies movie. Very strange, but a very, very fun film. It's definitely, I think, one of Wes Craven's sort of lesser known gems. So I definitely recommend it. That's The People Under the Stairs. Next film. Sorry, I thought my camera turned off there for a second, so I just kind of this camera's a bit dodgy, so sorry about that, guys. Anyway, continuing with the horror theme, I've got a couple of films here that I've wanted to upgrade to Blu-ray for a long time. Now, this was one film that I was unaware that even came out on Blu-ray, and in this country it hasn't. This is an imported release, but thankfully it is a Region 2 release. And what I picked up is George A. Romero's Night of the Living Dead. Now, this isn't actually George Romero's original 1968 movie. This is actually the remake that came out in the very, very early 90s. I think it came out in 1990 or maybe 91, and was directed by Tom Savini. And it's almost a shot-for-shot remake of the original. And this is actually one of my favourite zombie films. I grew up watching this film. I've had it on DVD for a long time, and yeah, it's just a great film. And I I definitely credit it as being inspiration for the original Resident Evil game, because it has, you could tell they took inspiration from George A. Romero and this film, of course. And yeah, it's a fantastic movie, and I'm glad to finally have it on Blu-ray. Uh, and it's just one of those movies that I just go back to time and time again. It's a classic movie. I think I've always preferred this film over the original simply because it has the gore. It's definitely more in line with what I like about zombie films, because I think the original movie wasn't actually even that gory. I remember seeing the original, and I also want to point out, I also think the acting is far superior in this film than the original. That's my personal preference. I know a lot of people hold the original to such high esteem, but personally, I don't really rate the original that much. I think for me, George A. Romero um, got good with Dawn of the Dead, which was the follow up. But for me, this is more of what I want to see from Night of the Living Dead. But what's interesting about this film is that there is actually sort of like a retrospective interview with Tom Savini, and he kind of talks about the making of this movie and how much of a pain it was, and the fact that the final product is far from what he originally intended, because back in the day, he was very inexperienced as a director. I mean, Tom Savini is mostly known as a special effects artist. He has appeared on camera. I mean, he's probably one of his most famous roles was playing Sex Machine in the Dusk Till Dawn movie. But yeah, he's mostly sort of like a special effects artist, and he was really restricted when it came to making this film. A lot of the practical gore effects that he wanted to include in this movie was removed. He was told to scale it down, which is a massive shame. I would love to have seen his original version of the movie. But for me, this is great. I love this film, and I'm just really happy to finally get it on Blu-ray. And keeping with the zombie theme, I also picked up this double edition Blu-ray of Dawn of the Dead and Land of the Dead. Now, Dawn of the Dead, this is actually the remake of George Romero's movie, the one that came out in 2004, and it's directed by Zack Snyder. And Land of the Dead is a follow-up to the original George A. Romero series that also came out, I believe, I think maybe 2004 or 2005. I saw both at the cinema and really enjoyed both. And this was definitely a really affordable way of getting both on Blu-ray, as I enjoy both of these movies. In fact, I would say that as much as I love the original Dawn of the Dead, and for me the remake lives up. It's actually its own movie. It's not necessarily a retread of the original. The only thing that they both have in common is they're both set in shopping malls. But aside from that, the characters are completely different. The story plays out differently, but it's the same sort of premise. But I love them both equally. I think Zack Snyder's version of Dawn of the Dead is just a fantastic zombie film, and Land of the Dead I think it's a great addition to George Romero's Dead series. So yeah, really chuffed to get both of these on Blu-ray as well. And yeah, next up I've got a couple of animated features on Blu-ray. First thing I picked up is this interesting Blu-ray. Something. It's not quite a film as such. It's The Watchmen: Tales of the Black Freighter and Under the Red Hood. Now I picked this up for only a few pounds on Amazon. Just this is something I just kind of wanted to watch. And the Tales of the Black Freighter is basically if you've read the Watchmen comic book, throughout the series there was like moments where it's like this character in the comic is reading a comic and you sort of see what he's reading. It's basically the story of this pirate who's trying to get off this island, and it's essentially supposed to be a metaphor for what's going on in the movie. Now in the Watchmen film, the animated series was originally intended to be included in the film, but was subsequently removed for pacing issues. Because it's just the film runs long enough as it is, so to have included it would have made the film even longer. Now, there is a version of the movie which is called the Ultimate Cut, which does include this animated sequence sprinkled throughout the film. Now, personally, while it would have been nice to have that, I don't think I would have liked to have watched it like that all the time. So I'm happy to just have the director's cut, which I think is long enough. I mean, the film's like 3 hours long. But it's nice to see what they wanted to include. So just to have it on a separate Blu-ray is good enough for me. And yeah, so basically there's like two. So you've got the Tales of the Black Freighter, which is the animated sort of film. And then you've got this Under the Red Hood, which is also taken from the material of the Watchmen comic, but it's sort of like a mockumentary, which focuses on one of the original characters that predated the Watchmen as well. So yeah, just something I just wanted to check out. And the next animated feature, this is an upgrade for me, and I picked up Batman Mystery of the Batwoman. This is just an animated feature that was spun off from the 90s Batman the Animated Series. And yeah, it's basically just an upgrade to Blu-ray. I have pretty much most of the animated DC feature films, so I wanted to include this one. Now, in terms of all the Batman Animated Series feature films, this is probably one of the weaker ones. So it's okay. It's not that great in my opinion, but I enjoy it for what it is, and it's just nice to have it on Blu-ray format. So next up, I have two more films here, one comedy and one action. I think the action film I'll start with. Now, this is a movie that I've owned on DVD, and I've been wanting to upgrade to Blu-ray for a long time, and that is Steven Seagal's Marked for Death. This, in my opinion, is Steven Seagal's best movie. I love this film. Now, a while back, I did pick up the Steven Seagal collection, which had basically all of his sort of more well-known films. So you've got it had Under Siege, Under Siege 2, Executive Decision, which is barely even in that film. Don't know why they even call that part of his series. It also had Nico and Hard to Kill. So this was the one that was basically missing from that set, and it's my favourite of all his films. Now, I've never been a big fan of Steven Seagal, but I love this movie. Marked for Death is just fantastic. If you want the best of Steven Seagal, this is definitely the film to check out. And the next film I got here, again, this is one of those movies that I didn't know was given a Blu-ray release, and in this country is yet to receive a Blu-ray release, so I did have to import this, but thankfully it is region free, and it's one of my favourite comedies, and that is Robin Hood Men in Tights. Love this film. It's such a great Mel Brooks comedy. I definitely recommend everybody to check this film out. Yeah, it's a shame this film hasn't really been given the recognition in recent years. It seems to have been forgotten. But back in the day, this film was really popular. A lot of my friends watched this film, loved this film. We used to quote this film. It's really funny. And it's basically a spoof of Kevin Costner's Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves from 1989. So this is a very, very good film. I definitely highly recommend. If you like comedy, if you like Mel Brooks movies, definitely want to check out. So I was really chuffed to get this on Blu-ray. Okay, so following that up, I've got another movie here. And this one actually arrived the other day. Very chuffed to get this actually, because it's a Blu-ray limited edition digibook. And this has actually been my first digibook, and what I got was the 30th anniversary edition of Labyrinth. So for those that don't know what a digibook is, it's basically, the packaging is like a book, so it opens up like a book, and so it's like half book, half Blu-ray case. And this just came out, so it's got all the special features that were on the original Blu-ray release, but it's also got a few more as well. So yeah, I was happy to add this. This is actually one of those movies that I loved as a kid. Do I really need to tell you guys about Labyrinth? I don't think I do, but you know, Jennifer Connelly, David Bowie, and for me was my introduction to David Bowie, and it's what I think of when I think of David Bowie. You know, R.I.P. You know, when I found out that he'd passed away, sadly this year, this was the movie that I think of all the time. So it's really sad to know that he's passed away, but this is how I'll always remember him. I know for a lot of people it's his music, but for me it will always be this movie. So yeah, great addition. And next up, I got something quite cool, and it's a box set of one of my favourite cartoons growing up as a kid. And unfortunately, here in the UK, it's yet to receive any sort of proper release. You can get DVDs with like a selection of random episodes, but for whatever reason, they've yet to release the series fully as a box set here in the UK. So I did have to resort to importing a American copy. So this is at the butt. So this is Region 1 release, and yeah, it's one of my favorites. It's from one of my favorite cartoons growing up as a kid, and that's the Real Ghostbusters animated series. Now, at the time that I bought this, I was under the impression it was the complete set, but it's not. It's actually only the first. I think it's got about 60 episodes, something like that, just over 50 episodes. So it's not the entire run of the original Ghostbusters series, but in hindsight, I'd probably never get around to watching all of them anyway. I know there's quite a few episodes here that I do remember as a kid, and I think for me what's more important are to have the episodes that I remember, and of course, you know, definitely worth checking out some of the others. So I'm quite happy with this box set. It wasn't expensive, but unfortunately it is Region 1, so you do need to have a Region 3 player to pick this up. But I've wanted to include the Real Ghostbusters cartoon series in my collection for a very long time. I know there was a Region 1 release that had the entire run of Ghostbusters, and I completely missed out on it. And it's really expensive today. It's out of print. But as far as I'm concerned, this is good enough for me. So yeah, really chuffed to get this as well. And finally, the last two are Steelbooks. Two great films that I saw at the cinema this year, so I had to pick them up on Blu-ray. And the first one I picked up is Jungle Book. And for those that don't know, the original Disney animated film Jungle Book is one of my favourite Disney films of all time. Absolutely love it. I love the music, I love the story, I love all of it. So I was really excited to see Disney's live action interpretation of Jungle Book. I went to the cinema to see this film, and I was not disappointed. It was brilliant. Absolutely loved this film. And in case you're wondering, yes, there's no title on the Steelbook. Unfortunately, this is one of those things that the Disney Steelbooks tend to lack across the board. But it is a real nice Steelbook in any case. You've got the back here, you've got Shere Khan. Such a great movie. If you're a fan of the animated Jungle Book, this is definitely a recommendation. But if you like just great adventure films, I definitely recommend people check this film out. And of course, you know, being a comic book movie nut, I had to pick up Captain America Civil War. Really chuffed to get this. I loved this film at the cinema. I thought it was fantastic. Definitely one of my favourite Marvel films. I wouldn't say it's necessarily my favourite Marvel film. I think for me, that honour still goes to Captain America the Winter Soldier. But this is very close. This is a fantastic film. Yeah, brilliant. Absolutely chuffed to get this in the collection as well. So that's it of my movies. Yeah, so I will be doing a games video as well. So look out for that. It will be coming up very, very shortly. Yeah, so thank you very much for watching, guys. I'm a little bit out of practice on camera, so you'll have to bear with me. But yeah, so thank you again for watching, guys. Of course, leave your comments below. Let me know what you guys think. And I'll be back very shortly with a games pickup video as well. So stay tuned for that. Bye bye.